Deputy Chief Minister in closing.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the members of the Assembly for their contribution. Madam Speaker, I just want to address a few things that I've heard while I've been sitting here listening to the debate today. Madam Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition talked about cutting the solar feed tariff, and I think she's trying to rewrite history, Madam Speaker, because we all know it's the Labor government who cut the solar feed tariff, Madam Speaker, and then they promised to grandfather those people on that existing solar tariff amount, which was about 18 cents, I think, Madam Speaker. But we know, Madam Speaker, they broke that promise because they didn't grandfather that solar feed-in tariff at all. Second thing, Madam Speaker, the Leader of Opposition spoke about this is reform's a great idea and she's going to support it, so I thank her for that. And then she went on, in her words, work has been done over the last couple of years in relation to this reform, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, after hearing that, I went through and got the Utilities Commission report, and I read through it again, and just on page 13 it talks about a paragraph that noting, and I'll read it out, Madam Speaker, and I'll quote the word, noting the priority Northern Territory electricity market has not been looked at for a number of years. Has not been looked at for a number of years, Madam Speaker. So, you know, this isn't my words, Madam Speaker, this is the words from the Utilities Commission saying that the work has not been looked at for a number of years. So, Madam Speaker, I'm not sure that what the Leader of Opposition was talking about. I'm sure she didn't mislead Parliament on purpose, Madam Speaker. And I went through the report a bit further, Madam Speaker, and another bit it talks about the work on this. Work stopped in 2022 and was incomplete at that stage. Considerable effort would be needed to review and update what was developed in 2022. So it says here in the second part of this report, work stopped in 2022 and was incomplete. 2 years, Madam Speaker, and yet the Leader of Opposition came in here just a couple of hours ago and said this is a great idea and work has been done over the last couple of years, Madam Speaker. So like I said, I'm sure she didn't mean to mislead Parliament on purpose, but I think clearly the Utilities Commission have said in two separate parts in their report that this hasn't been looked at and work was stopped in about 2022, Madam Speaker. So just to make it clear, Madam Speaker, this wasn't a project that the Labor government gave any priority to. In fact, the Utilities Commission said that they stopped that work, Madam Speaker. Yet, on the other hand, Madam Speaker, when we come to office this year, the Treasurer commissioned a report from the Utilities Commission to look at this immediately, which is in late 2024, only a few months after taking office, Madam Speaker. So it just really goes to show that the work in relation to the reform for the electricity market stopped a number of years ago. We've come into office and we've collected it and we've run the ball up, Madam Speaker, in getting things going. Madam Speaker, she also mentioned, when I say she, the Leader of Opposition, spoke about the power bills and schools having to pay, Madam Speaker. Look, we know, the Education Minister said in this House a number of times, schools will not be worse off. The department will be paying the power bill for this, Madam Speaker. So again, I'm sure the Leader of Opposition didn't mean to mislead Parliament on purpose, but I know that the Education Minister has come here and spoken about this previously, how the department will pay the power bills, and it's not coming out of the Better, Fairer Schools agreement, Madam Speaker. And she should know this because the Leader of Opposition was the fourth failed Education Minister. So, Madam Speaker, just some of these, she talks about stunts and the CLP doing stunts, Madam Speaker. I think there's at least two things there. I said the political stunts, Madam Speaker, was done by the Leader of the Opposition because clearly what she just said in Parliament was incorrect and that things aren't exactly as they seem, and the Utilities Commission is there to back that up. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I thank my government colleagues for supporting the electricity market reform legislation which we've introduced. I'd also like the opportunity to thank the hard-working public servants in the Department of Mines and Energy and the government-owned corporations, especially Power and Water, for all the hard work they've done behind the scenes on these bills, Madam Speaker. I'd also like to thank the Power and Water personnel for their tireless work on the ground maintaining our electricity system and fixing these outages swiftly, as they've done in Palmerston earlier this week. Madam Speaker, the NT Electricity System and Market Operator Bill 2025 Serial 35 will establish the NT Electricity System Market Operator, or INTESMO, as an independent entity that will plan, procure and operate the NT system market. This will be done under a transparent and robust government framework designed to deliver reliable, secure electricity to the lowest cost, at the lowest cost to Territorians, Madam Speaker. As part of separation of Intesmo and the model establishment, the NT procurement public procurement model, there will be a robust change of management process, Madam Speaker. The Leader of Opposition asked about when it was going to come into place. Intesmo will be established as a separate structural entity by July 1, 2027, with interim arrangements put in place between the passage of these bills and July 1, 2027, Madam Speaker. During the process, I'll start the next bill. The Electricity Legislation Amendment Market Reform Bill, Serial 36, will also establish the territory electricity market as a regulatory environment in which Intesmo will operate its central planning, procurement and system operation functions, Madam Speaker. There will be consultation with government and stakeholders by the department over the next 12 months to develop regulations and rules which will govern the electricity market. These are the rules that will apply to the public procurement model that will be administered by Intesmo. This consultation will take in form of an industry reference group comprising of key stakeholders so that certainty will be provided to industry and ensure that the market participants in our electricity system are heard and represented. The public procurement model is about providing certainty to industry and ensuring the most cost-effective approach to maintaining and upgrading our electrical networks for all Territorians. Madam Speaker, there's some commentary from the opposition and the crossbench about the lack of the mention of renewables in these bills, Madam Speaker. I also note, Madam Speaker, these bills don't mention the word gas because, Madam Speaker, they are agnostic. They don't talk about what sort of energy, Madam Speaker. They just talk about what can we do to have the lowest energy for Territorians. So unlike the 50% renewables, which is at any cost, Madam Speaker, this is about making electricity reliable and affordable for all Territorians. And it doesn't mention any form of electricity, Madam Speaker, because what I'm getting at is once this is up and running, any form of electricity is going to be open to the market as long as it's at a lowest possible cost to Territorian. So there's going to be a mix, Madam Speaker. We know there are already a mix of solar and renewables in the system, Madam Speaker. But what we need to do, Madam Speaker, is make sure the system is stable and secure, which is what we're going to do immediately, Madam Speaker, and then we can look at the lowest cost electricity. And this, like I said, Madam Speaker, this is about making sure that electricity is reliable and at the lowest cost, which may include gas and solar, but all above, the mix must ensure, Madam Speaker, that the electricity remains reliable and affordable. The energy mix will be dictated by government policy under the RECEP to provide reliable energy at the lowest cost, which may include solar, it may include gas. Madam Speaker, again, it goes back to reliable, affordable energy, Madam Speaker. And, Madam Speaker, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what energy mixes are going to come and what new energy may come in the future, maybe hydrogen, Madam Speaker. I'm not sure. I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm certainly not a leader in this sort of energy. But what we can say, Madam Speaker, is our policy will be we're going to look at all forms of energy, but we want reliable and lowest cost energy, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the member for Johnson said heat waves can be dangerous, Madam Speaker, and I agree with her, and I do agree with her. That's why we need electricity systems that's reliable, even in our peak summer conditions, Madam Speaker. We heard the member for Blaine list off a whole range of constituents talk about the heat and affecting their young children, Madam Speaker. Again, that's why we need to make sure this system is reliable. Madam Speaker, the Leader of Opposition talked about my report was scaremongering. Well, Madam Speaker, it was a statement of facts, Madam Speaker. The facts provided by the NT Utilities Commission, the independent electricity regulator in the Northern Territory. Madam Speaker, the Leader of Opposition claimed that the government was never given advice that our electricity system was in a fragile state. I quote from the advice from the Utilities Commission in their 2024 report, said that the Outlook report, which is the one previously, that the Territory's electricity supply has reached a critical juncture. They also stated that significant investment is unavoidable in addressing current and emerging power system issues. According to the last Utilities Commission Power System Performance Review, Katherine residents endured over 8 hours without power, spread across multiple power outages in 23-24. Territorians endure over twice as many blackouts as the rest of on average of the nation. Our blackouts lasted 30% longer than the rest of the nation. Madam Speaker, how does that not indicate that our electricity system is in a dire strait? So not only the reports, Madam Speaker, the facts that we're getting power blackouts in the Northern Territory show that anyone with a bit of common sense with that, our electricity system is fragile. Madam Speaker, again the CLP, the Leader Opposition spoke about renewables and not mentioned in these bills. Well, it's not, Madam Speaker. No sort of energy. It's just about making sure the market system operators is there, and then we have the lowest reliable. Madam Speaker, there's little point prioritising our solar if we can't even effectively use or dispatch the solar we already have, Madam Speaker. So we need to make sure that we get that up and running. Madam Speaker, there have been generation restrictions on our networks since 2019. And Madam Speaker, the Labor government has been in power since 2019 to August last year. How, and that, it's, again, more example, doesn't indicate that our system is fragile and in peril. Madam Speaker, that is why these bills represent a shift to establishing an energy mix which is above all prioritises the reliability at the lowest cost to Territorians. Madam Speaker, I have previously said the passage of these bills is the first step in providing secure, reliable and affordable electricity to all Territorians. Thank you, Madam Speaker.